So this is just a quick recap on the preliminary exercises for Project 3. We were looking for architectural details that we could then find interesting compositions within to combine to create a surrealistic, abstracted version of reality. So I've laid out just a few of the photographs that I took, and you can see with these white borders the sections that are the 4 by 5 inch units that I thought contained the most interesting compositions within each of those elements. So what you're seeing is overall the entire photograph and then the cropped section. So I spent some time looking at the cropped elements and decided that these three were really the ones that I found most likely candidates for me to be able to manipulate. So within this larger section, this curved area seemed to be really kind of compelling to me. This downward view on this staircase seemed to work pretty well. And this jumble of pipes had a lot of intricate movements that I thought would be kind of interesting. So I finally sort of whittled down my dozen or so images to these three. So now I'm trying to think about what I can do with these shapes. How could I combine them to create interesting, abstract, surreal compositions? So I played around with mine in a couple of different ways. I printed them out in black and white, and then took scissors and started dividing them, cutting and pasting and gluing the sections back together. So here are some of the possible ideas that I came up with. So we're creating truly a surreal image that combines elements that we're taking from the photographs that we took in the first place. So this one has some interesting overlaps, some diagonal movement. There's also counter curves. This curve into this is kind of an interesting move. So I think that's a pretty strong option that I could evolve a little bit further. This one becomes a little bit more vertical in its orientation. But again, I liked the way this curved element of this air duct counteracted the curve in the staircase. So that's definitely a little clearer, a little less jumbled of an image. This option inverts the shapes in a way that allows them to connect to one another, but also kind of inverts what you're expecting to see. The staircase is now going the wrong direction. For instance, if we're looking at this image as this being the top edge, we're actually looking at the stairs upside down. So that has some compelling aspects as well. I also played with it one other way that you might find useful if you have access to the Photoshop or to other imaging software. With this, I took the same three elements and layered them and played with opacity to try to figure out where I could see connections and interconnections between those lines and shapes. So you're ultimately looking to create something that is based on the architectural details that you've found, that obeys some rules of perspective, but combines them in a completely unusual, unexpected, and surrealistic way.